What's up, America? Welcome to Season 1, Episode 1, the pilot, I guess you could call it, of the In the Loop podcast. I'm Alex Lupica, joined by my brothers Chris and Zach. Together, we are going to be chopping up the world of sports once a week, one topic at a time. I guess because we're brothers, we have some practice at this, so oldest brother, Chris, what's up?
How's it going, guys? Looking forward to chopping it up.
Z-Loop.
How we doing? Let's get this thing going.
All right, so I am the middle brother, and it just so happens, I guess, that I'm sitting in between you two. That wasn't planned. So, Chris, like I said, the oldest, Zach, the youngest. Boys, I'm pumped. So today we are going to talk about NBA free agency. We're going to get into the LeBron situation, the decision part due, what's shaping up to be a crazy couple weeks for the association. So King James in a bit, but no place to begin but with the one true king, King Jurgen, and Team USA. So, boys, we watched last Sunday's game against Portugal together, and that was a really coming-of-age moment for soccer in America. Chris, would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most viewed game since the Women's Championship all the way back. It's definitely resonated big time in this country. I feel like the question that we kind of wanted to fire at our youngest brother, because he's a very passionate sports fan for the Packers, for example, is do you feel like for you, does this mean as much as it would if it was the Packers in the Super Bowl, or another one of your teams in the finals or on a playoff run?
I think at this point it means even more. This is kind of the one team where the whole country gets to rally around this group of guys and root for them, no matter where you are, whether it's kids at school or people working in the office. Tomorrow at noon, the game's going to be on, and people are going to be watching, and everybody's going to be on the same side. And I think that's pretty much the coolest thing that there can be in sports.
I hope ESPN3 is ready for the volume tomorrow, because workstations across America, people are going to go nuts if that thing crashes, because everyone's going to be at work, everyone's going to be watching. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I think that, first of all, 2 games on simultaneously, really unique spot. All these different tiebreakers at play. I'll go out on a limb first. I expect it to be a 0-0 tie.
I tend to believe it's going to be a tie, too, just because, look, if we tied, we both advance. Germany gets the 1 seed. They get to play Algeria.
It works for everybody.
It works for everyone. Is it possible, and I'm just going to throw this out there, Jurgen is obviously German, is it possible there's a little backdoor dealing going on right now? Boys, let's pass it around for 90. You advance, you get the 1 seed.
I don't think that there's any chance that he's thinking, let's both go tie. I think that the U.S. so far through 2 games has showed that they're pretty much, in my book, just as good as anybody at this point. They beat Ghana, looked great against Portugal, even better. Germany coming off a tough game against Ghana. I think the USA should capitalize, play hard, try to get this 1 seed.
But don't you think there's a little bit of gamesmanship going on? I mean, both coaches I read today, they're like, we're going at. I mean, they know each other. Jurgen knows. I mean, there is some, you got to imagine there's some tension. I mean, they kicked Jurgen to the curb. I'm sure that part of him wants to stick it to his old team, his old country. But that being said, it just seems like they both know that a tie is the best thing for both of them. So I would be surprised to see aggressive play. I would be surprised to see a wide-open game, put it that way.
And Zach knows you've been watching the World Cup more closely than Chris and I have. Can we beat this team? Can we beat Germany?
I don't think there's any reason we can't beat them. We've looked like such a strong team so far on both sides of the field. We've had some tough breaks. We've had some good breaks. Germany definitely is one of the teams that is one of the best teams in the tournament and could win the whole thing, but I don't see us going up against anybody right now and not thinking that we have a chance to win the game.
It's funny how the narrative has changed kind of in this situation, because we get so greedy here. Now it's not just that we want to advance. We want to win the group because we're like, oh, we could play Algeria or Russia. Now we're talking about seeding in the second round. I don't know. Maybe, I guess I'm not ready to accept that we're some sort of powerhouse quite yet, and I'm looking to get through.
I think you're spot on with the expectations thing, and I think that's part of the reason Jurgen came out and pretty much tried to obliterate the expectations before the tournament. People are talking about, like, is Jurgen going to get fired if we don't advance? I think the answer should be no. The way that he's brought this team along, what they've done so far, he's won me over already. If they don't win tomorrow, if they lose to Germany and we don't advance, he should still be our coach.
Also, it's a thing that we've been talking about, is that the reason that this is such a great thing right now in America is because we are the underdogs. When we played basketball It's like, okay, we're going to win each game by 20 until we reach the finals. Maybe somebody will give us a good shot, but probably not. And now it's, wow, this game against Ghana is huge. This game against Portugal is huge. Every game is like, it's a new story.
It's rare. It's rare for us to be the underdogs. You know, dating back to the Revolutionary War, it's just rare, and we like rooting for a team that represents a country that isn't necessarily supposed to win.
It's more fun to root for the underdog. I mean, like, just thinking back on my experience, I got to imagine that it was more fun to root for the Giants in the Super Bowl against the Patriots because they're not supposed to be there. That's kind of something I can think back on. But generally speaking, in international competition, whether it's Michael Phelps, whether it's and even the U.S. women's soccer team, they're always supposed to win. It's more fun to root for your team when they are kind of not given a chance and not looked upon with such high regard as the European clubs or the South American teams.
I also think I heard Bob Lee say something interesting the day before yesterday, and I think for even the people who were locked into this World Cup may not realize what a hero Jurgen was.
Total legend
for
over
Germany.
there.
I mean, a total legend. You know, 4th most caps in the country's history, 11 goals for them in the World Cup. That's 6th all-time, 3rd all-time for Germany. Bob Lee said it would be like Magic Johnson coaching against the Dream Team. I mean, this is a big deal.
That has me worried. Because I want the top. I'm not bullish enough on this team quite yet to say that I want to beat Germany or that I think we can or should. And it makes me worried now that these two coaches might have enough animosity towards each other that Germany's really going to try to beat us tomorrow.
But has anything so far in the 2 games we played showed you that we can't play with anyone right now?
No, I want these games to continue. I want to advance. I'd rather not take my chances.
Let's just tie.
We're going to advance.
Can we just tie, Zach? I mean, please.
Let's just pass it around. 90 minutes.
See, I'm an American. I want the win.
And that's what they keep saying. I'm just not sure if I buy into the fact that if we're and the other thing is there's going to be an element of scoreboard watching tomorrow. If Portugal goes up, we almost know then. I mean, pretty much, Zach, you're more of the tiebreaker expert than me or Alex. But if Portugal starts to win, we pretty much are through, right? Without a catastrophic loss.
Yeah, if Portugal goes up even 1-0, things start looking really good for us.
And then maybe we can play a little bit more aggressively.
I also have an interesting note over here that, according to a team source, that Klinsmann will be...
You got team sources already? It's Season 1, F1 in the loop, and you're bringing out team sources.
Klinsmann will be informed of the Portugal-Ghana score through a runner. Electric transmissions are not permitted, and Klinsmann's not sure yet if he's going to keep the team informed about what the score of the other game is.
I'm surprised that wouldn't be on the board. That wouldn't be up there like it would be, like, you know?
Yeah, but I love the idea of a runner. Like, did he have tryouts?
The idea of the runner scares me. What if he tells him the wrong score? A lot of pressure on the runner.
It's a big job.
Don't want to be that runner.
We'll get him in the loop.
Yeah, runner will be on next week.
So this situation where there are simultaneous games that obviously have equal meaning for our chances to advance. So we did a little research on the potential of kind of a backdoor agreement. In 1982, West Germany played Austria in the final game
before
of the
the wall came down.
Before the wall. And basically the scenario was that a West Germany win by 1 or 2 goals would result in them and Austria advancing. And West Germany scores an early goal, and then they pass it around. And they pass it around. So, I mean, it's happened. You know, maybe soccer was sleazier back in the 80s, pre-wall, but... I mean, it's, you know, the kind of thing is not possible.
It's funny because if this scenario were reversed and we're sitting there and Ghana and Portugal are at 0-0, people in this country would be freaking out about the collusion going on, et cetera, et cetera. Let me throw this at you guys because I've kind of heard it in the, making the rounds. People are saying if there's some sort of agreement or if it's too obvious, does that count? Are we talking about throwing a game or match fixing? I say no chance.
I don't have a problem with it, Zach.
No, I got no problem with it.
I mean, as long as the
what do you call
But if we're on the other side of the coin, imagine that like you just said.
I'd be really upset, but we're not.
No.
We put ourselves in a position, which, by our own doing, by our success, that we have an opportunity where if we do get a tie, we're good. And what do you call the Philadelphia 76ers this year? If this is match fixing.
Right.
What's also interesting is that when this happened, like you just noted, 20 years ago, is that they ended up switching the format so the two teams... that the second team's playing wouldn't know the results of the first game.
So they're playing at the same time.
But now this is, what do they do now? If this situation allows for us, even with that new rule, if we just go out there and don't do anything, what do they do next?
Well, there was no Nate Silver in 82. telling us all the
Nate
scenarios
Silver,
and the
I
formulas.
feel like guys at FIFA are just like, Nate, can you relax with telling everyone exactly what the scenario
Nate, you're
is?
getting a little too good at this.
You're gonna ruin
Slow
this
your
for us.
roll, pal.
So obviously, like we obviously take a weird look at sports sometimes. Zach, you're the scenario master right now. There is a coin toss in play.
Please.
Yeah, well, right now, Portugal has 1 point, and they are -4. And that's the main in goal differential, and that's the first tiebreaker. And we have 4 points, and we're +1.
Let's not get bogged down in it. What are the chances?
How do we get
The
to
chances
the,
are very
But how do we get to the
1%,
tiebreak?
2%.
1%, I'll take it. The possibility of that. Can we just run through what that would mean for America if we were flipping a coin literally to advance?
Well, there's a couple questions you got to ask right off the bat. Where does it happen? That's A. Like midfield after after the
room?
game. Is
Yeah.
it in a room? Is it broadcasted?
And are we talking coin heads or tails, or is it?
Yeah, is it an
you think there's
American-
some
I'm
kind of
imagining some sort of FIFA coin with some weird heads and tails.
American
but
flag
yeah.
on one side and a Portuguese flag on the other?
I believe the term's Portuguese, but sure. Yeah, I mean, and who's calling it in the air? And I mean, come on. Alex and I last night had a little bit of fun talking about Twitter after the fact. Good job, Klinsman. Tails never fails. #moron.
Well,
Like,
I've always been tails never fails.
I'm a tails guy also,
Oh, yeah,
but I'm
we're all
just
going
saying
tails.
that, you know, it would be such a scrutinized coin. Would there have ever been a more scrutinized coin toss in the history of sports?
Friday Night Lights is the only one I can think of.
Yeah, the quarter's
Okay.
looking a little worn.
Another question I got is: would you rather be calling the toss, or would you rather have the other coach?
You
call
gotta
it?
call it.
You
gotta be
Come on,
calling
we're
it.
Americans. We call. I would recommend a Twitter vote. You go #tails, #heads. America votes, and we pick it. That way, you're kind of
Maybe have
free of-
Seacrest run it.
Yeah, I think Seacrest could run the telecast. Sure.
Wow.
Yeah, bring him in.
Yeah, so that's an amazing. I mean, that's honestly like if you told me, guess what, we're gonna win the coin. I just want to see just all the semantics around it and then how it would go down because it's an amazing possibility.
It's a special possibility, and if you think about it, in soccer, beyond goal differential and head-to-head, there's nothing else that you can come up with to separate teams.
You could come up with anything better than a
that's
coin
what I
toss.
was saying.
What in soccer?
Klinsman arm wrestles the coach of Ghana.
100-yard
is better.
dash between
Yeah.
Klinsman and the other coach.
Okay, well now we're getting all crazy.
What
You
about-
want to
what
go
about-
steel cage? Like what
What about penalty kicks?
Wow.
Even that's fine, but because you just want it to not be
So
arbitrary.
you bring out the two teams that could possibly advance and just cold kick
It's better
PKs.
than a coin flip.
That would also be amazing.
Yeah,
television.
that would be very good. So 1%, 2%, we'll take it. I mean,
We'll take it.
I want
It's out there. It's
I want us to advance, but obviously, if that's not going to happen, let's.
So wait, let's
flip
whip it around one more time. Alex, you think tie? I think tie. Zach,
Win.
win for the
I
U.S.
could've
All right,
guessed
it's
that.
all good, U.S.
it. Okay, so we obviously can't talk World Cup today. It is Wednesday, without talking about the Molar eclipse yesterday. I'm talking about Luis Suarez and the.
Well,
bite
you have
that
you have a great take on this from a tactical perspective that
Listen,
you bounced off me last night.
Well, my take on it was such that he was trying to draw a penalty. He went with the bite and flop. You know, you don't see that in American sports.
That's his move.
It's his move. But there was one of the biting incidents was when play had stopped at midfield. I think he was playing for Ajax, and he just straight up bit the guy. I mean, we've all read the Wright Thompson piece, which if you're a fan of this guy or just interested
the
by
Wright
him,
Thompson piece allows you to kind of make up your mind depending on where you fall with Suarez. I think the third biting incident in the World Cup, when there's cameras, like maybe in the moment it gets missed, but the thing is he's going to get suspended for the rest of the World Cup. I mean, I just can't imagine any other scenario with the pressure that's going to be coming down on them to
and
make
it
a
looks
decision.
like, I mean, Uruguay is going to play on Saturday, so a decision is going to have to come down by then. They have to suspend him for the whole tournament.
Also, with his first two bitings, I think the first.
It just sounds so ridiculous.
It's
to
I think
say.
for the first bite he got suspended 7 games, and the second bite he got suspended 10 games. So I just don't see how he could play again in this World Cup.
No, he's not coming back.
And the thing, but here, okay, going back to, I mean, I'm not saying that you're defending it, because you're not. I know what you're saying. You're saying that, like, it's a move that, in theory, could have gotten them a penalty kick. Even if it had gotten them a penalty kick, he still gets suspended because of the after the fact.
Yes, but it's just from everything I know about him, that is not what's going through his
You're saying
his
he's
mind.
more of a short-term thinker than a long-term thinker?
I don't think
Okay.
he's much of a thinker at all,
Yeah.
but yeah, if I had to choose between the two, short-term.
He's more of an in-the-moment
So
type
anyways,
guy.
the Wright Thompson piece, who's one of our favorite writers for ESPN, basically makes the argument that here's a kid from a very tough upbringing in Uruguay who's just fighting for his life out there on the soccer field, trying to do whatever he can to keep his job and keep playing and keep making money for his family. You just think he's a straight-up lunatic.
Well, I just think that, like, yeah, I get that to an extent, but it's like you're playing for Liverpool. They're talking about transferring to Barcelona. Like, this guy's not, like, he's not like an edge-of-the-roster type guy who's got to bite someone. He's not a hockey goon. Like, he's biting people that he doesn't need to bite.
Yeah, the Wright Thompson piece I was thinking the other day, it made me at least start rooting for the guy, and then he bites a guy for the third time, and it's like, how is this 27-year-old man out there on a soccer field snapping and biting this guy's shoulder?
It sure
He's
did
already
get a
done
lot
it
of
twice.
attention on Twitter, though. I mean, it shows you, it does. I mean, going back to what we said before, kind of, it shows you the attention on the World Cup when my Twitter feed went absolutely nuts once he bit the guy.
He's 27.
Okay, so I'm not good enough at this yet to segue just naturally from Suarez biting an Italian defender to NBA free agency. So let's just do it rough and tumble type.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't see any
That was
possible
brutal.
way. So moving on to NBA free agency, obviously LeBron opts out yesterday, sending sports media into an absolute frenzy. So I guess, Chris, we'll start with you. You're more locked into the NBA free agency. What went through your mind when you heard the news yesterday that LeBron had opted out?
I was really surprised because, I mean, obviously, water cooler talk, you're chopping this thing up, and you're just thinking that the Miami Heat are positioned in such a way that, look, if they had played Oklahoma City, we're probably talking about a three-peat. We're talking about everybody opting in. So I'm thinking, okay, they're all going to opt in for one more season. They already have the roster in place where they would be the favorites to win the East right now, as currently constructed. But then he goes ahead and he opts out. He opts out with such a time frame that he's giving teams the opportunity to clear cap space to basically make their pitch to him with their roster moves. I don't think that this is just – I know that, it's definitely a shot across the bow to the Heat organization that they need to do more, but I think that he is going to take an honest look at what's out there to see if long-term there's a fit that's better than what he has in Miami.
I think anybody in their right mind who had LeBron's best interests in mind advising him would have advised him to opt out.
Right, and I think that the reason that he did it earlier was not only to give other teams a chance to give them their best pitch, but it was to give him as much time as he could to figure out what he wants, because at this point I don't even think he knows what he wants.
It's in his best interest. He opted out. I do think I agree with the shot across the bow. Pat Riley wants to come out and give a complete hard-out press conference. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to opt out, and I'm going to survey my options. You better get your ducks in a row and put an offer on the table and show me what you're going to do.
I think it also represents a changing of the guard a little bit with the power in the Heat organization. I mean, 2010, Riley clearly had a huge impact on these guys. He put his rings on the table. He said, look, I know how to deliver a championship. Let's all get together. Let's do this. And then he comes out and he still thinks that he's in charge here. And I think LeBron opting out, LeBron's in charge here. I mean, he's Pat Riley, he's Mickey Aronson. If he leaves the Heat, they're a lottery team.
It's
that's
hilarious to think about, and that's really all you need to think about to realize how great this guy is. That team without him,
it's a lottery
think
team.
About it, they're awful. They're awful. So, and I like that you mentioned we wouldn't be sitting here. They could have lost to San Antonio in 7 games in a close series, and we're probably not even having the same conversation.
Talking about him opting in.
They got whipped by San Antonio.
But either way, wasn't he going to have to opt out to make sure that Wade and Bosch also opt out so they can restructure all their contracts?
Well, I think that's one piece of this that's interesting. We're going to get a much better sense of what LeBron's long-term plan is when we see what the other two do. Because let's say Bosch and Wade opt in at their current salaries, then that's going to be a signal that they're going to get their money and that LeBron's out of town. I expect that they'll opt out as well, but you're talking about two guys who are being overpaid in the last year of their contract, whereas LeBron was underpaid. So it's a very different scenario for all three guys.
Yeah, I think, Zach, you're the LeBron sympathizer, the huge LeBron fan. The most likely scenario for me is that Wade restructures. Instead of 2 years, $40 million, he takes 5 and 55, something like that. Less per year. Bosch takes less and is just happy to be there, I would hope. And, LeBron gets a huge deal.
Right, I think that's the most realistic option at that point. I think that Bosch and Wade both understand that without LeBron coming back to Miami, that there's really nothing for them there. But I also wanted to ask you guys, do you think that if LeBron does decide to pack up and go somewhere else, does this hurt his legacy even more? Because you guys were not LeBron bashers, but
I definitely was one right after this.
You guys were bad.
And I probably
you guys were bad.
I was a LeBron hater for 2 or 3 years. Now I'm a little bit more indifferent.
I'm a little bit more indifferent too, and you can't not appreciate how great he is as a player. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Red Sox fan. I hate Derek Jeter, but you always respect him.
But is this going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, here's LeBron again going to play with a better team and going to play with the better players because he can't do it by himself?
I just think, and we batted this around a little bit earlier.
Pre-show meeting,
a little production meeting we had, and like, it's just that the NBA's changed. You know, there are no historically great players that you think about playing for more than one team. They all played for one team. You know, Bird, Celtics, Kareem, Lakers, Matt. You know, these guys all played for one team. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore.
Well, this is kind of where I come down on this because, like Zach said, I definitely was a LeBron hater. I definitely had some animosity, and I mean, how can you not? The way he did handle the decision, he even admits that was a mistake at this point. However, it's not fair for us or anyone in general to say, okay, we're going to rip LeBron as a Cleveland Cavalier because he can't get it done. Now we're going to rip LeBron as a Miami Heat player because he's chasing rings. So I think that because nowadays in sports, if you don't win championships and you don't win them quickly, you're dismissed as a player.
That's how we measure athletes.
That's all. So Kevin Love's sitting there in Minnesota saying, look, I'm one of the 10 best. I'm an Olympic player. I'm a 25-13 guy. I'm such a unique player. I'm dismissed as a basketball player until I get a title ring.
Yeah, it's the one measuring stick we use. So are we really going to kill him for going to play for the best team?
You can't.
Do you want him to stay in Miami?
No. I mean, my dream scenario has always been him going back to Cleveland.
It's more fun. I mean, if you're not a Heat fan, if you're not from Miami,
one of the Heat fans like in South Florida from Miami,
one of those fans that were walking out the door in Game 6 last year. If you're not one of them, it's just more fun if he leaves for the league, isn't it?
I just always have thought that how is he never going to go back to Cleveland, make up for what he did, bring them a champ? I feel like one championship in Cleveland would mean so much more to him in his career than 100 with anybody else.
Well, let me throw this at you guys because this is something that I was reading earlier, is that LeBron takes a short-term deal in Miami, 1 to 2, because you look at this roster and you can talk about Kyle Lowry, Trevor Ariza, Marcin Gortat as unrealistic options that they can add to this team. But even still, looking at the way it's constructed, this isn't a 4 or 5 year roster. This is a 1 to 2 year window they have. Maybe LeBron says, all right, I'll re-up for 2 years, free up the cap flexibility, and then I'll make my move in 2016, 2017. And then maybe the Cleveland thing comes into play.
And maybe that does happen. I think all along we kind of expected him to just take the year on his contract,
see where things are,
see where the chips fall. Speaking of next year, let's spin it towards New York a little. C-Loop, you're a big Knicks fan.
Yep.
I mean, everyone in New York has been excited about the 2015 summer, next summer, for I don't know how many years, when Amari's off the books, when Bogdani's off the books. And
we still have J.R. Smith in that scenario.
You still have J.R. Smith in that scenario.
But the Knicks are just...
But it looks like the chips are going to fall this summer, and the Knicks are going to be, caught watching.
It's going to be worse than last time.
It's getting late at the bar, and the Knicks just always seem like they're the last guy looking for a dance partner. And
reminds me of someone.
Yeah, a little familiar over there, huh?
Yeah, and
he just blew by that.
And they always kind of had this, and it was the same thing in 2010, right? So we were sold on this vision. Okay, 2010, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, you got Amare Stoudemire. Now it's, in 2015, I mean, they're going to have all kinds of cap room next year, and they might be sitting there looking at a free agent landscape starring LaMarcus Aldridge and Rajon Rondo. Because if Melo and LeBron and Kevin Love are all locked up after this offseason, then, it's just, and it's not their fault. It's just one of those things that seems to happen to this organization. And we don't have a draft pick this year.
Yeah, the draft pick thing is just tough. It's kind of salt in the wound when all this is going down. And no, they're not picking tomorrow night. Spinning forward to the draft, I guess the Thunder are the one example of teams currently who they hit 3 huge home runs in the draft.
4 if you include Ibaka.
4 if you include Ibaka, and they became a great team because of the draft.
Even Reggie Jackson.
They've just drafted extremely well. Are we going to see another Thunder? Are we going to see a team nail their draft picks and become a contender? Or is that unrealistic? Is it all about realignment at this point, Zach?
I don't see it at this point. I think that right now in the NBA, unless you can construct a team where you have 2 or 3 great players, superstars, or you're the San Antonio Spurs, then I don't see any way that a new team could break through just off of using the draft well.
you would have. I think it's possible. I think that comes with a caveat that you're never going to see that in a major market. I don't think that like teams the Philadelphia 76ers are attempting to do it right now. I mean, we'll see what happens there, but I almost think that if you look at what the Philadelphia 76ers are doing, they are tanking for draft picks. But at the end of the day, I think they anticipate using those draft picks to trade for the Kevin Loves of the world, or to be there in 2015 and be able to to be able to do what the Houston Rockets did, which is offer 3 or 4 guys and picks down the road for superstars, because you can't win without them.
And there's, obviously been a ton of talk about the Cavs, the number 1 pick, Jabari, Wiggins. Who are they going to take? Are they going to trade it? Zach, do you agree that, like, essentially from where I sit, it doesn't matter? Like, they need to do whatever they can to get LeBron, or they're not winning a title.
Right. I think that they need to do whatever they can to get LeBron, but if they start to think that that's unrealistic, I think that at least this year they have a first pick where they could end up having a superstar. Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, they have huge ceilings and could end up being superstars. Last year they got Anthony Bennett. So at least this year that they could make something from Wiggins, I think.
Who do you like better? You like Wiggins?
I like Wiggins. I think Wiggins has the highest ceiling, but I think Parker has the highest bottom.
Yeah, I think that Wiggins, I mean, I think it's really tough. I think it's really easy to get caught up in. I mean, Wiggins can defend at elite level on the wing. They say, but it always worries me when they say that they're going to teach someone how to shoot, because they've been trying to teach a guy like Rondo how to shoot for like 8 years, and it doesn't work. So, I mean, I think Parker's a safe pick. I think you know exactly what. I think Parker's base. I think Parker pretty much what you're getting almost at worst is Rudy Gay.
Yeah, I think that's
my
a good
concern
comparison.
with Wiggins. My concern with Wiggins is that you could be looking at the next Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, a guy who's great on the wing, great defensively, had a really good college career, but couldn't really score enough. Doesn't have a great jumper in the NBA.
It's an exciting draft when you compare it to last year's draft. I mean, at least we're talking about this. We're talking about the number 1 pick. I mean, Anthony Bennett.
Last year's draft was brutal.
Hard to watch.
How did they pick Anthony Bennett?
The Greek Giannis, I can't pronounce his last name. He ended up. He should have been the number 1 pick in the draft last year. I think that and they got him real late. So
I mean, the All NBA rookie team was just
it was ugly.
A sorry collection of rookies.
Do you guys think at this point the Cavs are going to keep that first pick?
I have to see them trading it. I just don't think they need a number 1 guy. I think they trade down and maybe take Embiid.
I think Embiid was their guy. I think the problem is that, look, if you're trying to sell me what you just said before, right? The Cavs have to be thinking, how do we get LeBron James? And drafting Embiid, even if you're drafting at 4 with another pick down the road, then you're selling LeBron on, well, this guy will be back in a year. I mean, you got to put together a win now, win ready team in order to make a play for him.
Zach, do you think that the Cavs hiring David Blatt, Chris, your boy, David Blatt from Maccabi Tel Aviv. That's
shout
his
out.
Squad.
Yep.
Is that a signal to you that maybe they don't think they have a great chance? Because what team in their right mind is going to hire a coach before the end of free agency if you're committed to getting a superstar? Aren't you going to want that guy's input?
Right. Well, I thought last year or before last season when they hired Mike Brown that was kind of an attempt to get LeBron back because he used to coach him. But now I just feel like I originally did think that meant that they weren't going to get LeBron, but now it kind of makes me think that who else is out there in the NBA if you're LeBron? Who's a coach that you would be like, oh, they got him, I want to go there now?
Tibbs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's possible. I think that, the summer of 2010, if you remember, they courted Tom Izzo. There was talk that they courted Calipari this year. Both guys that obviously with pedigrees that you could lure a guy like LeBron in there. I think at the end of the day, though, if they sign LeBron and he wants to fire this guy next year, that's what's going to happen. So I think we'll see there.
What happens?
I think he sticks around. I think he sticks around, like I said, on the short-term deal with Miami, and then he surveys his options 2 years down the road. I mean, he's going to be 31. He's still going to be in his prime. Wade and Bosch at that point, I don't think he'll feel the sense of abandonment because they're not going to be at an all-star level at that point, and he makes his next move. Maybe it's Cleveland. Maybe it's somewhere else, and I won't necessarily have a problem with it. I'm sure there'll be backlash, but I think that it's the right move for him.
Zach, your dream scenario, and it can't be him playing for the Packers.
Can it be him playing for the Browns?
No.
Your
dream scenario.
My dream scenario is
big.
That the Cavs trade for Kevin Love. LeBron goes back to Miami for one more year, and then those three go to Cleveland and play together.
All right, boys, in the loop, pilot in the can. Hopefully they bring us back. We'll see everyone next week. Enjoy USA Soccer tomorrow, and we'll catch you next time.